This is Jeff Wilkerson, professor of physics at Luther College, bringing you the next of what to look for in the night sky. This time we're talking about the week of June 20th, 2022. And we're going to talk a little bit about the planets again. This is a chance to think about, okay, if you've been watching these videos, I know you have. I know you're watching this series and you can't wait for the new one to come out each week. And so you watch these sorts of things, you know, we kind of get in a rut and we talk about the same thing over and over and over again. We were doing that with geometry, thinking about the projection of latitude lines onto the sky and thinking about that being declination, how we measure the north-southness, if you will, of objects in the sky. And we looked at that for a while. This was after we spent a lot of time earlier in the year and even late last year thinking about the planets and what we could see in the morning sky with the planets. And then last week we got back to the planets, and it was fully my intention to get away from that this week and to talk about something else, but I just couldn't. It's just too great what we're going to see this week, and so we have to go back and talk about the planets in the morning sky. What you see here is a little bit to say this is, you know, an academic researcher. How you get there sometimes is by digging in, by finding a problem and really digging into it, and at the same time, so this, you got to focus. You got to be able to have that kind of interest and focus to be able to focus on this and pull this apart and do this sort of thing, and that's how you get there. You see that in the research work I do with students. For the last 20 years, we've looked at the same patch of sky night after night, every clear night from late February to early October. And we just shoot every clear night, bam, 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 very short images, bam, 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 bam. And so we have a lot of data of one patch of sky. We can just focus on one region and do one thing like that, and that's what we're talking about here. But at the same time, I've always liked to have lots of little projects ongoing, different projects, so when you hit a wall on one project, you can move to another one. And when you move to another one, you think you're not thinking about that project, but somewhere in the back of your head, my head, it's working on that first project, and I come back to it a few hours later, a few days later, a few weeks later, whatever, depending on however you move on through different projects, you come back to it and you realize, oh, maybe we can do this. And you can start making progress on the project that way. So this is kind of like that. You can kind of see that in these night sky videos that we're shooting right here, that we're talking about. As we have our conversation about the night sky, it's kind of a one-way conversation. But as we have that conversation about the night sky, you can kind of see that to say, we have these things we really want to dig into, and we can't pull away from them because we want to keep thinking about them, but there are different ones of these things. The geometry we were talking about a few weeks ago, the planets that we're back to talking about right now. So what we're going to look at is on the night of the 20th into the 21st. So after midnight on Monday the 20th into Tuesday morning the 21st, the moon will be sitting below, south of Jupiter and a little bit west of Jupiter, on the order of about 4 or 5 degrees away. Remember, that's half a fist width at arm's length. So you see Jupiter out here, and it's about 45% full, the moon is. So Jupiter's big and bright, and the moon is this beautiful 45% full moon. This is going to be a fantastic pairing. Now, for me, this region of the sky rises about 1:30 in the morning. That'll vary for you depending on where you are in your time zone, your sort of local conditions right there. And I can't see it well until it clears the houses and the trees and the muck of the atmosphere and so on for at least another half an hour after that. And probably the best viewing for me is going to be not until 2:15 or 2:30, and then the rest of the night. This is great. If you live, you know, as the night wears on, the moon's going to track this direction. And if you live west of me, if you're in California, where I used to live, you can get a couple hours later in the morning, a couple hours later, universal time, for the moon will have tracked over here and be even closer to Jupiter and make an even better pairing. What's going to happen is one night later, so the morning of the 22nd, after midnight on the night of the 21st, so this is Tuesday night into Wednesday, the moon will have moved across, doing what it does. It moves east against the background stars, and so it's doing what it does, and it moves over here, and it's going to make a remarkably similar pairing with Mars this next night. 4 to 5 degrees south and west of Mars, and Mars is a pretty bright object too, so you should be able to pick out Mars and pick out the moon. And the moon will have waned. It's a waning moon. It'll only be about 36% full. It won't have lost a full 10 percentage points of its illumination apparent to us. So what's happening here? You all know this probably. The moon's, here's the sun. here's the Earth. The moon's full when it's out here. And as it orbits around here, we're orbiting too, but we're going to ignore that complexity right now. And so as it orbits around here, we see the full illuminated face of the moon when it's over here. It's up at night. Over here, we see half of the illuminated face. And so we're in this part right now where we're seeing less and less and less of the illuminated face of the moon. So it's gone from 45% of the illuminated face that's facing Earth that we can see down to 35%. And it's going to get less and less and less. And you see, as the moon goes this direction, the background stars are all out there someplace, very far away. So you see that's the moon moving against the background stars as it moves here, as it moves across. Okay, that's your geometry lesson for today. Something to think about as you're out here enjoying. So this is our lesson. This is our idea for the day. This is the big idea that we have, is we can think about interesting motion and interesting how much stuff moves. This is a great chance to picture how much the moon actually wanes in one night and how much it moves in one night. As you can mark it against Jupiter, you can mark it against Mars, and you can see just exactly how much the moon moved and how much it waned away and got less full from one night to the next. And it's a chance to think about all of that and think about that geometry, all while enjoying really, really beautiful views of the night sky. This is a fantastic pairing. This is a fantastic pairing. So nothing else, you just go out and you look at it and you appreciate it for the beauty that it is, the beauty that it brings to our life. But it also brings beauty as you think about how it's happening and what this geometry is. By now, it rises a little bit later. We have to rotate around a little bit more to get it to pop up over the horizon. So it's going to rise about 2 o'clock, probably not really visible till 2:30 or 3 for me to really be able to go out and look at this. So for me, I'll get up early instead of stay up late. That's a little bit, I'm probably not good at staying up that late. So now we think about, that's the 22nd. 3 nights later, it will have moved out here, and Venus is coming up over here. So Venus is a little bit more, but more or less 2 times as far away from Mars as Mars is from Jupiter. So Venus is stretched out over here. We've got these planets, there's a lot out there, people talking about the alignments of the planets, and it's great, I suppose, but they're getting pretty stretched out. They're not bunched up tight. And so you've got Venus way out over here, and the moon will have moved to be between Mars and Venus. And so on the morning of the 25th, that's Saturday morning, Friday night into Saturday morning, the moon will be a beautiful slender crescent, and it will be about 8 degrees, mostly west of Venus, a little bit north of Venus. So the fact that the moon's going to come in north of Venus when it was south of these other planets lets us think about tilt of the orbit of the moon relative to the plane of the solar system, and the thickness of the plane of the solar system, the tilt of the planets relative to one another. So this is all great. And so the moon will be about 11% full on this night, beautiful crescent moon, and about 8 degrees away from Venus. This is going to be a fantastic pairing on Saturday morning. But if you wanted to pick one night to go out, or one morning to go out and look at this, it's Sunday morning the 26th. By the next morning, the moon will be within about 3 degrees of Venus. This is really close to Venus, big bright Venus and the moon's going to be a spectacular 6% full. And so the moon is going to be this wonderful, slender crescent moon. You don't see it much less full than this. This is about as thin a crescent moon as you're going to find, and it's going to be a beautiful pairing with Venus on Sunday morning. And so this whole region of the sky doesn't rise until about 3:30 for me. I can pick this out a little bit better than I can some of these objects, because Venus is so bright. Venus is big and bright in the morning sky right there. You can see it in the haze of the atmosphere better, but it's still probably approaching 4 o'clock before I get a decent view of this. I got hills and trees and stuff it's got to come up over. And so 4:15, and for me, it's starting to get light at 5 o'clock. So I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a big window to go out and view this on Sunday morning, but I'm sure going to try, because this is just spectacular. This is just a wonderful, wonderful view this is going to be. You really want to see all of this. If you can think about this motion, if you can think about this geometry and watch the moon move against the background planets and the background stars, and to think about what's going on, but really just enjoy the spectacular views, right? If I were you, what I would do is I'd take a week of vacation. Why not take your vacation week to go out and spend, you say, how am I going to use my vacation this year? Well, we could go to the beach, we could go to the mountains, we could do all kinds of things. Let's take it and just watch the night sky, night after night after night after night. It sounds perfect. I can guarantee you, guarantee you that if you decided to do that, if you decided to put in for your vacation next week, and this is how you're going to use your annual vacation, it would be cloudy all week. That's just the way it works. But never mind that. Never mind that. What we're talking about here is just any night you can get out to observe any of these pairings of the moon with the planets is going to be spectacular. The more you see, the more you're going to be able to appreciate how this is changing night to night, and what a wonderful array of a wonderful array of pairings. Let's say, I didn't want to use the word pairings again twice like that, but that you get over the course of the week. So it's just spectacular alignments. Let's say a different array of alignments as the week goes on. So I hope you have clear skies. I hope you have a chance to get out and enjoy it. And I hope everybody has a great week. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll have something new for you next week, but probably about the same, right? It's probably going to have something to do with planets or geometry or something. But anyway, take care, everybody.